All right, hello everyone, and welcome to Theorycrafting Thursday. We, of course, are everybody's favorite CrossFit podcast. We are going to be going in depth on how both my co-host Proud and I have been achieving our sick gains as of the past few weeks, and our favorite things to do, like flipping tires or, I don't know, anything else about CrossFit. So we're going to move on and talk about Dota 2 instead, as we tend to do before, we continue talking about weightlifting as we do on a weekly basis. I'm sure you all know that. So, on that note, how has your week in Dota been, kind Sir Proud?
Was that like the best one that you had left? Was that like one of the best like podcast topics you had waiting to be used?
No, it was the one that I thought of like a moment ago, because I was just writing down my notes for the show, and I was like, boy, what can we be? And I was like, I don't want to do like some whole big thing. I just want to run right into it. So I was like, well, like 2 sentences about CrossFit.
Yeah. Okay. Well, that's fair. My Dota's been pretty good. I had a couple of bad days that were just like 7-point wins and 38-point losses because I fucking hate this current system of MMR, and I was playing way too much Druid. So I've resolved to just like I've kind of had a bit of an epiphany in terms of the fact that I don't really need to play mid. I have a lot of games where, I don't know, sometimes you have like your guy who's worse than you just so happens to win mid, and it's just how it happens.
Yep.
So now I play, unless it's like, like a 4,500 average and I'm sitting there at like 5-1 or 5-2 or whatever. I'm just like, I'll just play safe lane. You're like 4.9. You'll figure it out. You really want to win this game, I'm sure.
I would not be so sure of that, but we hope.
Yeah, but yes, I'm playing a bit more safe lane, some Jug, mostly Luna, because, I'm still playing this patch, and it's like, hey, my Luna ban didn't go through, guess I have to play Luna. So, a little boring in that regard, but at least I'm not only playing safe, only playing like the same 2 heroes mid right now. And our team games went really well. That was kind of like what made me be like, I just gotta stop playing Druid, stop playing mid, because I played like 3 different carries for our team games, and they were all very fun. I was like, man, there are heroes besides Lone Druid I'm allowed to play.
Yep.
This is great.
I feel ya. I cannot imagine. Like, on one level, I would like some of my favorite heroes to be at that level of strength, but at the same time, everybody knows me. I'm not the type. I cannot stand to play the same hero 5 games in a row or whatever.
Yeah. Just imagine like it was Invoker that was super strong, but you were just never allowed to skill W. You could only have points in Q&E the whole time because they were just too broken. You're just like, well, guess I have to play this hero I love in the fucking worst way possible.
Yeah, that's happened historically. Like, I can't think of a good example right now. Like Kunkka, for a while, I just was not like, I like playing support Kunkka, the way that people play it now, where you'd go like mana boots and Aether Lens and all these utility items and Blink Dagger. Yeah. But then it was just better, like, to do the Lanham build and be like, all right, we're just gonna play core Kunkka, but we're gonna roam. And that ended up being very fun. Initially, I was like, man, I just want to play my Mr. Captain Boy with all my mana items.
Yeah,
but
sometimes you just want mana items.
Yeah. My week in Dota has not been terribly exciting. I've been playing a lot of Dark Moon, which is, as far as custom games go, it's pretty fun. They just added in 10 new heroes, and it seems like, and also they fixed the magic resistance bug, so it's a lot easier now, I would say. I played Leshrac today, and boy, like, Dark Moon's fun. Honestly, like, it's good just to, like, it's very relaxing to play, because, like, it's just, I love PvE. Like, I'm the guy that, like, if I played Call of Duty or, like, any of those shooters, I always wanted the PvE horde mode, or, like, Gears of War. I love horde mode things.
Oh, yeah,
like, that's
man.
just the best.
I've been saying, like, for years, any game can instantly add, like, double the playtime if they just put in, like, a horde mode, and it's so easy to do from, like, a programming standpoint. Like, just give me shit to fight forever, please.
Yeah, like Mass Effect 3, one of my, even though people hate on the ending or whatever, Mass Effect 3 multiplayer was so much fun. Like, it was an incredibly fun time, because it was just a very, like, simple but, like, well-polished horde mode. And it was just rewarding and very fun. A little pay to win, but I'm a big fan of horde mode stuff, so this was a nice break from the intense PvP of Dota. And so yeah, I played a good bit of that. Let's see, we played our team games. I think I played a few different mids. I can't remember off the top of my head, and I'm not on the right Dota buff since we had to smurf so we could actually play ranked. But I played a few PA mid games. I think one of those was in practice, and then one of those was just another random game I played in apparently a 3-stack. Still playing OD. OD's still real fun unless you're playing against a sniper. And I random clockwork once. That was a good time. Honestly, I've not played that much Dota because I've been playing Dark Moon and doing other things. Because like you, I'm not super into the patch right now. But yeah, that's my weekend Dota. Nothing too exciting.
Yeah.
I'm glad. I guess we've kind of talked about it on all our shows. The Monday show, unfortunately, they recorded before team practice, which of course now, as a reminder to everybody, the Monday show is now going to be the Friday show, and Proudland, the Friday show is now going to be the Monday show, starting next week. So keep that in mind. But the formerly Monday, currently Friday hosts Roland and Cyphus, they recorded before our practice, so we've heard an inkling about practice over the course of each of the shows. On the Wednesday show, you and Cyphus talked about it for a minute or two. I had a lot of fun with it. Obviously, like the games were not very they're good like team morale games, I would say. Like I know both of us have been on various iterations of various teams, and I think every team needs that like honeymoon period when they're just like a more of a friendly 5-stack than like a serious team. Yeah. And you just need to win a bunch of games. And so over the course of probably the next couple of weeks, while Cyphus grinds up his party MMR, or rather while we all grind up Cyphus's party MMR so that he can actually play with our main accounts, which shouldn't take too long. These will be good team bonding games before we get into the punishing games where people are getting brought up a bit above their skill level, so to speak. So
yeah, we haven't quite hit the time where our supports have 13 deaths and are just like, I can't go anywhere without dying. And so once we get to that, then we'll see, and then we'll get the true tests. But until then, it's fun times.
Yeah, that's for sure. It's gonna be interesting to see from a social dynamic and like a team dynamic how the 5 of us work together. Because obviously you and I have been on various teams, and we have our own dynamic. And
that's I say things and you don't say anything.
Yeah, and then we disagree often. That tends to be how things go. But it's not a bad dynamic.
In our games?
Oh yeah, we argue all the time, in our pub games and in our things. Yeah, or like
I don't remember like ever arguing with you. I remember I just like say shit and then it either happens or it doesn't.
Yeah, well, like in recent iterations of teams we've been on, this could be a segment in and of itself. We haven't had as many things because you've been more firmly in the shot calling position. But my and this is something that like I still, in the back of my mind, I know it's a bad thing to do, but I always talk in the retroactive, which of course you're aware of, in being like, if we lose a fight, I'm like, why did we lose that fight? And I start talking about it immediately. And that has historically led to some not so productive conversations in team chat and stuff. So I'm pleasantly surprised you don't remember all these times I disagree with you. Or there
have been things on really like minor things. Because there are some times when we definitely do have like conversations that are like completely pointless.
Yes.
That you keep going with.
Yeah, we also, it's just a lot of little things. It's not like significant things, but we approach the game very differently, which is why, of course, I enjoy. This is why it's productive to have 2 different people talk about the game rather than two of the same people talk about the game. Yeah. So that's how you reach good decisions. But anyway, it's interesting to see our dynamic and then paired with the 3 other dynamic or the 3 other factors in the kind of web
I love
that it creates.
Because, like, no matter what happens, he immediately, like, goes to what he calls his Rolodex of excuses.
Yes.
And, like...
Roland's Rolodex.
It's not even, like, it's not even... Like, all I need to know is that he, like, understood that whatever happened was wrong, but he definitely, like... I don't know, whenever you talk to any person and you call them out on anything, you always need to kind of give them an escape plan to like laugh it off, but ensure that they still understand like what went wrong. Yeah. Because if they just have to say like, yes, I'm an idiot, like that's never going to happen. A human is never going to do that. with Roland, he's just like, hey, I'll say I'm an idiot, but I also got to throw out an excuse just for,
Yeah.
I don't know. I want to say, I'm looking for a word just for something's sake, like, not parody, but like, I don't know.
Just for
like
the sake
face.
of it.
Yeah.
Yeah, like to save face. Or at least like divert attention with a joke, which is a common approach, like you said, among most people that have some semblance of a sense of humor. But I think the streams, it was very fun on this Sunday. I don't know what kind of stream we're gonna be doing this Sunday since it's Super Bowl Sunday and Growdy and I are gonna be out. Honestly, you three should just grind some party more with Cyphus. That might be fun.
It's not a bad idea.
Either way, the team streams are a lot of fun, and like I've always historically, and you also to a lesser degree, but I love playing with mixed skill parties, and it's very interesting to have that dichotomy between like two 5K players, two like low mid 3K players, and then Cyphus being like a high 2K player. Like it's interesting, it's fun. So look forward to that. I think we also have VODs of it up on YouTube. It's gonna be a fun time. I'm looking forward to that. Seeing how it develops over the course of months.
If in terms of like learning how to do shot calling and like what kind of actions you should be making, this is definitely, I think, a lot more useful to listen to than than the earlier Hakuna Murana practices, because I didn't really have to say anything for the most part for the early game. But now, like with Roland and Cyphus, since they're not used to being a well-oiled machine support duo, I'm kind of calling almost every action that like needs to take place. So there's a lot more actual direction being given on like what, or at least it's being more explicitly said what a support duo needs to be doing in the early mid game, and what their like decision making process needs to look like. So these games definitely a lot more useful for like learning how early team movements should work, at least to be said explicitly. If you were just going to watch and just see like through visually how the team rotation should work, maybe the old Hakuna Murana was better. But in terms of like just explicitly, this is what you should be doing right now, and having someone say it out loud, like the new practices are definitely really good for that.
Absolutely. And for the future, we will be alternating who's recording the game so that we get different perspectives as the weeks go on. So this most recent one was in my perspective as mid, and then next week, or this weekend or whenever you're listening to this, we'll have a different perspective, and then another different perspective, and another one. So we'll get the full range of things, which should be a lot of fun. So anyway, that was a good little tangent to get on. I wasn't expecting to kill some time with that.
Well,
Perfect. Let's talk about our segment. So for this week, we're going to talk about, and this ties into one of the heroes we'll be playing this week, which is Enigma. We're going to talk about jungling in the new jungle. I am well established, for anyone that's listened to the podcast for a while, as somebody who almost never jungles. And I'll be playing Enigma today because Enigma's good. I think we can both agree on that. And we haven't played him yet on the show, and he's fun, and he's purple. And I'm a fan of all of those things. So, Proud is definitely the teacher here when it comes to jungling. I'm very averse to jungling. I think I've jungled probably less than 100 games in my entire history.
Don't be so hard. The jungle killed your parents, so like it's understandable that you're anti-jungle, but
yeah.
I don't want to like bring up any tragic stuff or whatever, but yeah, you're gonna have to jungle this game.
Yeah, my completely irrational fear of Bigfoot really ties into my hatred of jungling, I'll be honest. My childhood watching way too many Bigfoot documentaries has scarred me, and now I just never jungle. Nary an enchantress to see in my match history.
Yeah, well, that's why I play Druid, because I just want to get you all the time.
Perfect.
Like, hey,
all right, so
I'm a jungle denizen.
Teach me how to jungle.
All right, buddy.
Teach me how to jungle.
I will do it. All right, here we go. So if you want to jungle, first thing you need to understand is you are like ruining the game for everyone else. So to counter that, you need to like make the game extremely good for everyone else. So there's really no like ability to give up efficiency without making everyone absurdly disappointed in you at all times. So the main thing that you need to do is like you need to have a straight up plan of what camps you are going to go to and how long it should take you to go to like each one. And now that the camps only spawn every 2 minutes, it's like even more important. If you screw up any of your order at all, that could leave you with like a 20-second expanse where you need to like walk to a camp that you weren't expecting to need to walk to, and that'll just like losing 20 seconds as a jungler even losing like 15, I don't know what it is about jungling, but anytime you drop any efficiency, it's like your effectiveness goes from like 100% effectiveness, and then you like lose 10 seconds, and then you're like 70% as useful as you were before. It's just like any one little misstep like just takes you down so hard. And the first thing that you need to watch out for is the camp respawn at 1 minute. So you want to be able to jungle as many camps as possible, as close together as possible. The closer they are together, the easier it is to do them walking from camp to camp, etc. And with any hero that can take a camp out in 30 seconds, which is almost every jungler, one of the main things that you want to do is you want to kill a hard camp, and then within 27 seconds or whatever, or at least get it out of its spawn box. And then at the 1 minute mark, the hard camp will spawn again, right? So the main thing you want to do is you want to make sure you get that extra spawn out, because adding one more hard camp within that 2 minute cycle is just is huge. Then you can kill hard camp again, and then the two medium camps that are kind of near your respective area, and that should roughly cover the first 2 minute cycle.
Okay, that makes sense. So is there, let's see, so when you're jungling, right, let's not keep this specifically on Enigma, but do you generally do the thing, so last patch a lot of the junglers, what you do is you'd kill the medium camp twice, and then the respawn, and then you'd kill a hard camp or whatever. Is there a preferred priority system? Obviously, yeah, hard camps are going to give you the most money in XP, but is there a point at which it's just more valuable to kill a medium and a small and have a lot of health left, and then go to get a hard camp, or vice versa?
It's kind of hero specific, but for the most part, no.
Okay.
Hard camps are the most, it's not just they have the most shit. Yes, of course they give the most golden experience, but they also give the most golden experience on average per creep, or not per creep, per effective health that you need to get through. Some camps are especially difficult, like the trolls. You can't choke point them anymore. But notable with the trolls, it definitely is some factor that you need to balance, how much health that you're going to be losing, because whenever I see anyone jungle when they're dealing with the troll summoners, they always kill the big troll first, and then the little trolls. Even though if you leave the big troll up, it'll summon those two little skeletons, which give the best gold per effective health of any creep in the game.
Yes.
Those little skeletons are worth so much money. It's somewhere between I don't know, it's 10 to 20 gold or something like that. I think it's 17 to 20 or something. But that's a ton, and they take one hit to do. They do a ton of damage. They have incredible DPS, but if you just kill them really fast, it's
they have piercing type damage, right? Or whatever.
No, the melee guys. The skeletons don't. I don't think so.
Yeah, the skeletons, maybe they changed this, but for a long time they did more damage because their damage type was different as a summoned unit.
The troll.
That's why they sucked against towers.
The trolls do, but I'm not sure about. I know Necro has Necro's piercing damage, and the trolls are piercing. I'm not sure about the skeletons though. I can check
I'll
that.
look it up while you talk.
Okay,
I got it. Wax
okay.
poetic.
Yeah. So pretty much always you want to do the hard camps, unless you know for a fact from some kind of external source that you do indeed want to do medium camps. I think I've seen some Bloodseekers do the medium camp first, just for at level 1 you can get kind of low on health. But also from my experience back from last patch where the jungle still respawned well, I was seeing a jungle Bloodseeker guide that was they definitely started hard camps first. In fact, they were so interested in hard camps, they started on the offlane jungle and killed that camp twice, and then ran over to the radiant. There's not to the radiant, to the safe lane jungle, and then did those camps. So I haven't really seen a hero that I'm definitely sure is way more interested in medium camps than hard camps, but surely a couple of them do exist. So if you do look at a hero specific guide, and you see them starting off at medium camps, the person who's making that guide may not be completely wrong. They may be a totally valid reason they're doing that. But for the most part, if you do have an option between killing a hard or a medium camp, you want to go with the hard camp.
Gotcha. So I looked this up, and so the hill trolls, which are the medium or the smaller trolls, they do piercing damage. The summoner does hero type damage, and the skeletons do basic type damage. So
the summoner does hero damage? Really?
Yep, he does hero damage, and the small satyrs have a 6 to 12 gold bounty and 12 experience. and they
Why are we
deal
talking about this?
24 to
Okay.
25 damage.
Are you talking about the skeletons or the satyrs?
The skeletons.
Okay, you said satyrs, and I was like, "The
Oh, I'm
fuck does
sorry.
that have to do with anything?" What
Yeah.
about what about the like me? Oh, when you say the small trolls, you mean like the little
Yeah.
guys at the hard camp? Okay, I thought you were talking about the small camp little troll guys too, and I was
Oh,
like,
no,
"Well, that's
no, no,
interesting
no.
information too. Thanks for that."
No, it's the
Okay.
large camp that has the summoner, the 2 hill trolls, and then it summons the 2 skeletons. Anyway.
Yes. Okay. All right. So those are piercing though.
Yeah, so yeah, they're piercing on the smaller ones and hero damage on the large troll that summons the skeletons.
Yeah,
and
well, I
skeletons
guess-
are basic damage.
I guess we know what the new hero is going to be. It's
God.
that troll, little troll summoner.
Attack
Totally getting
types.
it.
What a fun system that makes.
Yeah,
sense.
why is that? Probably because if it was piercing, my bear would melt in fucking seconds. Dude, that if ever a jungle Lone Druid, that camp just fucks my bear up so fast, it's absurd.
Man, yeah, gotta love antiquated systems. Anyway, that was just one of those stupid things that like is so unintuitive. Anyway, okay, so the thing with Enigma specifically in the jungle that I'm sure like I kind of know off the top, I kind of know internally, but he has that weird system, kind of like Doom, where his ability to make eidolons out of a creep is limited by the level of the creep, right? So you can't at level 1 or at any level, you can't consume the Dark Troll Summoner, the big one, and make eidolons out of that. You have to make it out of the smaller ones or out of a skeleton or out of a lane creep, which normally you do. You take the range creep from mid lane is what I see most Enigmas do.
Yep.
And that kind of has always confused me. Not confused me, but it makes for an interesting dynamic of you having to split the eidolons and like okay, so eidolons after 6 hits they split, and when they split they get completely refresh their health pool, and
Yeah,
You
they turn into 2. They double up.
yeah,
The freezes.
and so you don't want obviously one to die, right? Because then you're only getting a max of 4 or a max of 2 once they get those 6 hits. So there's always been like a kind of meta game of, and I know Rowan was talking about this because he used to play a lot of Enigma. There's always like a meta game of like swapping them out and in and moving them around, and like there's all these creeps kind of like the tomatoes that ground pound at 3 if there's 3 units around in like 200 AoE or something.
Yeah.
You have to like split your eidolons, and you gotta keep your hero over here and your eidolons over there. Like there's all these little nuances to Enigma, and
It's a lot of micro.
yeah, compared to like jungling like a Bloodseeker or something.
Or Legion. You just sit there and like hope.
yeah, there's a lot of luck to Legion. Although not that much. So what would you say? I know we've kind of talked about this for the key to being a good jungler versus a bad jungler is just in making yourself useful in a reasonable amount of time, right? So the classic example we use is if you're playing
Hello?
look for rotation with a rune or smoke to a lane or say
You went a little silent there, buddy.
oh did I? Am I going silent now? I don't
No,
know.
you're good.
But anyway, the difference between a useful jungler and the classic GG jungle Legion, I guess is what I was getting at, regardless of how much of that came through. So what would you say is the key just in all of them, right? Like I think it would really boil down to knowing when you're useful versus knowing when you still need to farm, and not indulging in farming for too long.
So part of the advantage of having the jungler is that you have more or less like 4 farmed heroes on your map, assuming your offlaner gets anything. And one of the worst things that you can do is be a little overzealous in trying to make shit happen. Like if you, let's say you're jungling, I don't know, Enigma, and you have like 6 eidolon, or you have like your eidolons just like doubled up and you've got them, but your team is whining super hard and you're like level 4, and then you walk over to mid lane and pop like a oh my god, what is the skill called? It's not Malad, that's fucking Malefice.
Malefice is his mini stun.
Yeah. So like let's say I walk over to mid lane with my level 1 Malefice because people are complaining about that I'm jungling, and then I like drop a Malefice for fucking 110 mana and then nothing happens for it, and then I like walk back to the jungle in defeat. Like that wasn't, I didn't make myself useful. I tried to help, but it really didn't. And now all my Eidolons like timed out, and I had my double Eidolons, and that was stupid. So don't do shit like that. Like, yeah, you definitely do need to realize when you're like helpful. And I feel like trying to make an opportunity as a jungler is almost never a good idea until you hit that anti-mage like, I have finished farming, like, point in your life. But it does often make sense to, like, if it looks like your safe lane is under a lot of pressure, or if you're jungling the off lane and your off lane is a lot of pressure, jungling towards that area and then like, oh hey, they're diving right now, well, guess I can just walk over there and drop a Malefice on someone. Like, that's okay, but you never want to be like forcing a situation to, like, you know, happen for you to make yourself useful until you finish up. The best thing you can do for yourself is just to jungle efficiently.
Yeah, it is a common problem of the classic like semi jungle, or somebody that's like, oh, I'm just gonna jungle till level 3 or something, and then they get overindulgent or they don't indulge enough, and you end up with either like a really underfarmed jungler that tried to make too many things happen, or a really overfarmed jungler with completely lost lanes that has never done anything. So it really comes down to then knowing, all right, I am Enigma, I just got level 6, I have enough mana to make Eidolons during a fight, and I have enough mana for Malefice also, and then you smoke to a lane and make something happen, right? Like the classic Enigma, similar to Tidehunter, where you just black hole for even just one kill on a core is totally worth it, compared to in the late game where obviously you want to be black holing for, 3 people. So and it's similar with any other hero, right? Like Legion, the classic thing is you should be checking runes with pretty much any jungler. You want to be checking runes. Enigma has a little less leeway since he has to be like managing Eidolons, but you want to, smoke or find an invis rune or find a haste rune and then walk over and take and duel like the mid lane or set up with some support. Okay, yeah. So that's the classic.
Kind of the key to that is you need to pick your I have finished farming point, and it needs to be fairly early. It's not like, like, oh, I'm gonna play Legion and I'm gonna need 6, and also maybe like a blink. And what's a blink without treads, right? And then also I should probably get my W finished up, because I'm really just gonna put that on myself and then get the solo duel kill instead. Like, you can't do that. You have to be like, I'm gonna get duel and then I'm just gonna fucking go. Maybe get level 7 so you can get your extra point in overwhelming odds or whatever the fuck. But yeah, in general, like, you want it to be a pretty early point where you hit the I have finished farming status. Like with Enigma, maybe, all right, I have Black Hole, Mana Boots, and Soul Ring. Like, that's a good point to go.
Yeah, I think really if there's any core tenet of the .p advice podcast, it's knowing your power peaks and your power valleys, right? And not rotating at level 5 with LC, but instead rotating at level 6. And that's obviously an oversimplification, but that's what this comes down to, right? It's knowing, okay, I'm Enigma, I can actually push a lane at level 5 if we have a push going, because I can just make Eidolons. But you need to be positioned to be able to do that, or you need to know, hey, I can't push this lane because I'm only level 5 and they have an LC off lane and she's just going to kill all my creeps in an instant. So I guess to get past that, we can talk about our actual individual heroes, right? Unless we have anything else to say about the jungle.
No, that's
I imagine this will carry over. This will carry over to after, when I talk about how poorly my jungle went. I'm just praying they don't pick like Ricky or Bounty Hunter. Anyway, so let's talk about Enigma just to carry on with this conversation. Item wise specifically, I've done quite a bit of research. I've played a couple Enigma games, but honestly, he has a lot of personalized builds that all end up with the same things when it comes to like the first couple items. So just looking at a lot of Enigma players, a lot are doing everybody goes Soul Ring first, right? Soul Ring and Brown Boots, or Soul Ring Mana Boots. And what they do is some combination of, or some people basically, I would say, prefer, they go Midas really early, they get it by like 10 minutes right around then, and that's with having Soul Ring and Boots, and some combination of like maybe a Windlace or, buying wards, etc. And then a lot of people don't go for Midas. It's kind of split. I think I'd say like maybe a quarter of people go in for that Midas. And then, of course, the core is the Greaves, Blink Dagger, BKB, and then Refresher in the late game, Octarine in the late game, stuff like that. Yeah. But but it is kind of split. So some people do what I kind of like to do, honestly, is you after you have your core Soul Ring boots, you just go straight in for the Blink Dagger. Other people, they get the mech, and then you push all the tier 1s with the threat of Black Hole. That's a big dynamic of Enigma that is kind of cannot be understated. People just knowing, hey, it's kind of like a Tidehunter. It's a perfect example. Is because we see a lot of Tidehunter, we don't see that much Enigma. Is they're gonna think like, we can't just fight into this, like they have a black hole ready, or we can fight into this, black hole's on cooldown. Like that's just the easy decision making for the enemy team. So I totally see that, the mech builds. And then you have some people even like delaying Blink super late, like the classic, who was it, Puppy, that was just like, yeah, just don't build Blink on Enigma. Like, it's very personalized. That's basically what I'm getting to. I personally am a Blink Dagger player. I build it on basically everybody I can, and so I will most likely be going Blink in my first couple items. Though
if you go Blink first, I'm actually gonna flame you on the VOD.
No, I'm not gonna go Blink first, but it's my first couple items. Like I wouldn't do these things where like people got mech and then like a pipe and then finish Greaves and then get a Blink.
I'm just saying, like, if you don't go like mech then Blink, if it's just like mana boost Blink, here we go, I'm gonna be like, what are you doing?
Yeah,
stop it.
That's a bit overindulgent. Like we could talk, like we spoke about earlier. It does need something to support it. But yeah, I think my operative build is going to be, as much as I love building Midas, I think I'll just be going mana boots and soul ring, mana boots, windlace, mech, Blink.
I would kind of encourage Midas, honestly, because I mean, you know, my whole deal with Midas is it's like, it's the farm accelerant that doesn't absorb any more farm off the map than you already do. Like a Maelstrom and a Battle Fury, it's a farm accelerant in that you just chew through the map as quickly as possible. One of my issues with playing with Enigma is a support that just chews through the fucking map. And that just sucks. Like, I don't want my support to be, like, eating all my fucking jungle camps and also, like, spawning Eidolons and just pushing the wave and not getting the last hits with them because he just fucking A-clicks them down a lane. But the Midas, like, ensures my Enigma still gets farm, but they don't have to, like, do an absurd amount of farming. And then plus, also, if you get it early, similar to my Druid, it helps you get that level 15 as quick as possible, which gives you the 120 gold per minute.
Yeah, I think it's gonna depend on how like the game state's going, and if I can afford to just like go for a Midas, or if I'm gonna go in for mech. So that'll really vary a bit. And then skill build wise, this is where I think I'm gonna do the easier thing compared to the like good Enigma player thing. In that all the good Enigma players, of course you max Eidolons first. And then people get a point in a Malefice at level 2, just in case like somebody goes to gank you, or if you can rotate, or you know, whatever, if somebody's diving your safe lane. But then all the good Enigma players, they get a point in the what's it called? Black Hole, obviously. Midnight Pulse. They get that at level 4, and they always have like these cheeky little things where like they can kite on some weird area thanks to like all the trees being dead or what have you. Honestly, I've not watched enough Enigma play, and I don't value myself highly enough as an Enigma player or a jungler for that matter to bother with that. So I'll probably just max Malefice second and maybe have 1 point Midnight Pulse for like the gank potential and having like Black Hole Midnight Pulse. But Midnight Pulse is mostly just a late game thing, right? Where it's like, oh, they're pushing into us, but they're taking whatever it is, 6% of their health every. It's really good.
It's a wild good spell, but this is definitely a lot more with the like 1 minute respawn on creeps, where like there's that dire area where you've got like the hard camp and the medium camp that are like around a bunch of trees, and then you just like midnight pulse that area, and then you're like pulling both camps into it, and they're all just taking like an absurd amount of damage. But that's kind of gone now for the most part. But I mean, it's definitely still good to have. But you don't need an absurd amount of points in it for the jungling factor. And Malefice is a very good spell. So
yeah, and you have the mana to spare. And I mean, you could still stack something like at the 2 minute mark. Maybe that's what it is. Maybe people are hitting 3. I don't know. I just know, like, I see people do it, and I'm like, wow, that's really smart. But I have not internalized that information nearly enough to be as bold to do it myself.
Yeah, it's just another drop to help you jungle. That's it.
But yeah, so maybe I'll dabble, but most likely I'm just gonna max Malefice second. Then I'll try to get a rotation with Black Hole at like 6-ish, with a smoke. we'll see how that goes. Hopefully it goes well. And then yeah, I mean late game I'll be going in for that like basic core of items. Greaves, BKB, Blink. Probably I actually really like his Ags. I'm just looking at games and it's kind of like split where some people prefer Ags, other people are going just like straight refresher, stuff like that. Probably just depends on who your opponents are, of course. Like if you have tanky opponents that build health, go in for Ags. If you don't. So yeah, and then Octarine, Scythe, Shivas, stuff like that, the basic stuff. Probably not Scythe, because you want to, if you haven't won the fight after the black hole, you probably don't really need that sheep to win the fight.
Well, I don't know. Sheep is fucking good.
Yeah. But it's like,
if you, I would say, I don't know, like if maybe the reason you didn't win the fight with the black hole is that you needed to stop one motherfucker and you had to use your black hole on that one motherfucker.
Yeah, that's fair. But it's kind of low on my list, I'll be honest.
Yeah, that's fine.
But yeah, so that's Enigma. I think really this is going to be something to look more at in the retrospective after the break, because I can see that players, despite having some basic informed knowledge and experience on the hero. So let's talk about your hero. You're going to be playing the Lonely Druid, which we've talked about, but not in detail, I will say, on any of the shows. And we're due to talk about we're due to talk about it. That was hard to say.
Yeah, and at least we're due to go in depth on it. Yeah, so Druid is a hero, of course, getting a lot of play right now. I've been playing it for a pretty long time. Originally, I was like, well, I can pick Druid and then decide if I want to go a bear focus build, or the ranged focus. And then, of course, I was like, well, guess what? I always want to go the ranged focus build. And then I've been playing a good amount of Druid, and then he started popping up at, Dota Pit is when they were playing a ton of him. And now everybody and their dog is now playing this Lone Druid that doesn't utilize the bear very much. And now this is just my personal hell. It's really, really fucking good. I still prefer my homebrew build for the most part, although it seems like as time goes on, pros are like experimenting more and more, and they're kind of like slightly hitting the way I go with it. But for the most part, I play it differently than most other people, which is not uncommon for Druid. And yeah, he's really, really strong. The main reason that he's so good is, of course, you have the plus 200 attack range at level 10, which is solid. And then you augment that with, at level 15, he gets plus 65 damage, which is, for reference, the amount of damage that Sven gets at level 25. So obviously, if you're getting someone's level 25 talent at level 15, something pretty good is going on. So like it just enables him completely. Like you gain 200 attack range and plus 65 damage at level 15. Wild fucking good. Incredible shit. So that's why people can play ranged druid now. It was okay before. It's just off the fact that you had rabid, you were absurdly fast, and you have savage ward to kind of zone for yourself, and your bear is relatively useful without items anyways. But it's really these two new talents that you need to play to have like the most successful lonely druid possible. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it makes sense. So I'm trying to think of how to expound on this really, because I think we've all all kind of know why it's just super good. Oh
yeah, and you have minus 50-second respawn time. Like, whoa, yeah, fucking made that one. Who was that?
Yeah, gosh, I'm just at a loss. Honestly, I've been just avoiding lone druids so much. What would you say is like one of the common misconceptions that you're seeing people do, but like you yourself as like a longtime lone druid player and like a lonely druid player now are seeing? Like, I know you talk about the Aquila build, for instance, or Aquila.
Okay, so this hero is kind of okay, so two things I hate about the way people play him. One is people completely disrespect the bear and don't utilize it in any way at all. I mean, people did this with Radiance too. They just had like brown boots, stout shield, quelling Radiance. It's like, yo, just kill your, like, just don't play my hero. Just get off my fucking hero. But people not going like boots on the bear, or the fact that I never see anyone with like phase boots on the bear, it's just kind of makes me really, really sad. The hero is, nothing has changed about the hero basically until you hit level 15 or get a damage item. Gaining 200, like the reason that people don't play ranged druid for the most part is that it just doesn't accomplish anything. You have decent attack speed through Rabid, but you do like 100 damage at level 11, and you don't do anything else. That's all that your hero does. So if you're putting a bunch of items on your hero when all they do is right click for 100 damage, like, I don't know, play Witch Doctor instead. That hero has spells. You need to understand that, yes, your hero can right click for 100 damage and is pretty fast, but there's no real point putting these like incremental items like Aquila and that sort of thing on it. Most of your success before you get that plus 65 damage, or before you get a Maelstrom or a Dragonlance or whatever, is the effect that you're going to be getting from Entangle, from your bear connecting and getting the Orb of Venom swings in, whatever your bear is tanking. Like your bear is like, the fact that you have Entangle is still the best thing about your hero until you get that like 65 damage or whatever. And like you're still the only difference is, instead of like, oh, I get Radiance, now I'm a transformed hero, is, oh, I get like, 65 damage, my Dragonlance and a Maelstrom, now I'm a transformed hero. So like if you're playing the initial, like, I want to say 10 minutes of Lone Druid any differently than you were last patch, I think you're making a pretty grave mistake, or at least you're not understanding what has changed about your hero.
Okay, that makes sense. So have you, let's see, I got nothing.
Okay, well, so I'll go into more stuff that I hate about everything.
Yeah, please do. Well, because it's one of these things where like I'm trying not to go over things we've already gone over, because we've brought up Lone Druid before, but at the same time, there's just so much.
Like, so much. Now is when more people are like trying this out. Like people are finally like, oh, okay, I'm gonna like play this now that it's so cancer or whatever. So like now is when people are gonna be listening. So we may have said some of these things before, but for the most part, like, I mean, I'm on Twitter, I'm getting the same Lone Druid questions that I've answered before, but they weren't playing Lone Druid, so why the fuck would they remember?
Yeah.
So just, say whatever, buddy. Follow your heart.
Okay. My heart says I don't really care about Lone Druid.
Okay.
What?
All right. So I would say your heart was telling you to tell me to just keep talking about random shit.
Oh yeah, please keep talking about.
Okay.
Lone
So
Druid. Not about random stuff though.
The other thing is kind of where this hero is. As I said, like, you need to be aware of what has changed about the hero. And it's the 200 attack range, the 65 damage, and the 50-second respawn time. But it's mostly the 65 damage and more or less the 200 attack range. The 200 attack range, like, enables it. But if it weren't for the 65 damage that you get, all you would have is not a very strong hero. You would just have, like... You would have a very obnoxious hero, but it wouldn't accomplish that much. It's once you get the 65 damage that you go from like, oh wow, it's so annoying how far away he's able to hit me, but it doesn't really matter that he's hitting me at all because it's dealing like 100 damage. And then you get the 65 and your damage, it's just like fucking, whoop, you're right up there, you're good. You kill every motherfucker in the club. So I emphasize like going Midas on this hero because I want to, especially if you're playing it safe lane, your levels are like absurdly important and you have pretty good stat gain. So like if you do what I do, like you don't go Aquila and you just get the Midas, and the levels from the Midas compensate for not getting the Aquila, as well as other things that I do. Then like you know that your strength is in that hitting level 10, in that hitting level 15, especially if you're a safe laner. Like if you're not mid and you're tri-laning or whatever, like you need to get your levels up as fast as possible, and Midas is like the absolute best way to get your levels up on a hero. So the fact that I've seen a lot of people just kind of dropping Midas from the Druid, I don't think is that great. There's not a lot of reason to go for a fighting build on this hero before you're like level I mean, like you can fight with the Druid, but almost no items in terms of like fighting build items are going to make any difference in the way the hero performs in a team fight, except for like maybe Dragonlance and then like your Maelstrom as far as like major purchases. Like an Aquila, I feel like does absolutely nothing for the Lone Druid. A Raindrop gives you about as much survivability, solves all of your mana regen issues on its own. Losing the armor is a bit of a deal, but this you can like resummon your Spirit Bear, and it doesn't really need the armor that much. It has decent health regen on its own. The 2 armor is not going to make that big a difference. And the Aquila is nice for pushing, but like the Wraithband part of it is just completely worthless. Like if you put a Wraithband on a Mirana, it's not like she's automatically like a strong right clicker. Like, even if you throw a Wraithband on that, she is still gonna be mostly using Starfall for the damage. And Lone Druid's kind of the same way. Like, no matter what you do, you're still fishing for entangles. And that 500 gold into the Wraith Band is not changing that at all. And once you get your 65 damage up and your like Maelstrom Dragonlance online, like the Wraith Band that you like delayed your transformative items, your like fairly small transformative items like Dragonlance, not that expensive. Maelstrom, not that expensive. Even like Midas, it's not super expensive. Like the 500 gold, like what is that about? If you really want the Bassi, like go for it, I guess. But I don't know, it's like 1,000 gold. That's just not. It doesn't do anything. Like, you don't need to make your Druid better overall. You need to get to 200 attack range, your Dragonlance, your 65, and either your Maelstrom or your Deso. Like, you need an item. This hero, it's kind of like Sniper. Like, yes, you want some kind of stats, but what you really need is these items that take you from just like, I have attack range, to like, I kill everyone via high attack range.
Yeah, you have to eventually reach that Sniper-esque point.
Yeah, you can't just yeah.
One of the big things I've seen, so I think basically all these heroes that get popularized, right? You have a clear dichotomy is set up between people that have latched onto these heroes because they're super strong right now, like Lone Druid is now, or like Luna is now, although she's been like it for a while, or next patch whatever hero becomes super strong. There's always like little nuanced things that are skill wise very different, like the Invoker one that's classic that people always say is the difference between a good Invoker and an Invoker player and something that's just playing Invoker is people that are just playing Invoker don't use Ice Wall well, and good Invoker players use that spell like crazy. And so the thing I noticed about that with Lone Druid, especially with these Lonely Druid builds that are so high range and they have a certain kiting potential with all the move speed, is the use of fear on both the hero and the bear in different situations is really, at least, and I imagine you'd agree, what sets apart the like strong Druid players from the people that are just like, oh hey, this hero is good, I'm gonna play it like a sniper. Do you have any like general like basic rules for how to use fear? Because I know you use fear offensively a lot, which I think is interesting. I don't see that commonly when I see like Pablo and Druids and stuff.
So the main way that I use fear outside of just like, oh no, I'm dying, is I use it to kind of like chain stun people, or help my teammates set up for stun. Like you can't use it like like if I'm waiting for Lion to get in position, I can't fear an Ember Spirit because then Ember Spirit's gonna be walking faster than my Lion is to get into position. But let's say like you blink in with a Malefice for a 1 second stun, I'll wait the duration of the 1 second stun, and then as soon as that ends, I'll fear. And then like your Malefice will come back in, but it just kind of like covers that small blanket state when like they do have the ability to react, and then I'm just like, you're feared, you can't do shit about it, and then we go from there. Also, if I entangle someone, the extra move speed my fear gives them doesn't matter because they're just not going to move, period. So let's say I get an Ember Spirit entangled, I'll immediately fear the Ember Spirit, that way he can't just remnant out. But yeah, just using the fear as not so much a way to get people to run away from you, but so much as just like I just kind of treat it as a silence that can't be dispelled or can't be manted off. And it just so happens that if people are silenced, they're also probably just going to run away from me. And Savage Roar is basically the same thing. It's just a silence to me. And then also, it has that disengaging factor. But in terms of using it offensively, use it as a silence. And then also the fact that if I'm in some weird terrain, even if I'm not exactly sure the way they're going to walk, I'll just fear them. And there's a pretty good chance that they're just going to walk some way that they absolutely were not intending to. And they may walk into our team or some shit like that. It's great in the Roche Pit. Just anytime you can make someone walk a weird ass way, even if it's not like for the best, the direction they walk. If you get a couple people, the fact is that they're going to stack up because they're going to both start walking the same direction, and that can make it really easy to land some easy AoE shit, or even just get your Maelstrom bounces going well. Assuming you're going Maelstrom. But so I try to use fear as much as possible, like offensively, just to like in the middle of a team fight, if I can just catch 3 people with the fear, like whether or not it's doing the right thing, the fact of the matter is it is grossly disrupting my enemies like plans on what they're trying to do. Like no one in the middle of a team fight is like, okay, and then the three of us will walk backwards for 2.4 seconds at improved move speed while the other people on our team fight. Like that's not anyone's plan. So if you can just get a good fear off on a few enemies, just go for it. It's nice to have to save yourself, but if you're paying attention to these fights and you're noticing like, oh, I actually don't have people to fear off me too much, and if I do, they're like people who are BKBs and shit. Most importantly is like getting off to like a good start in these fights and just like killing these motherfuckers before I need to use a Savage Word offensively. So that's like the main way that I use that.
So all I'm hearing is that we are going to perfectly synchronize a fear into black hole, and
I'll
that's
fear
how
them.
the game's gonna go.
And then they'll funnel themselves into a set of trees, and then you'll dark pulse the trees down to see where they are, and then blink in and black hole.
Yep. All right. So on that note, let's hop into the game, and we'll
I'll talk about
win
more stuff later.
Hopefully do well. Yeah. So goodbye.
Okay.
All right, hello everyone. We are back. We have just completed our game. It was a relatively short game. What was it, like 38 minutes, something like that? Yeah, 38. And it was a win, thankfully. It was a lot of fun. I think we definitely... I had some fun in Black Holes. Enigma's just one of those heroes, right? It's hard not to have fun if you're winning a game and playing Enigma. Anyway, so the teams. The enemy team had a mid Storm Spirit, and they had an off-lane Timbersaw. They had a safe lane, dual lane of... Bloodseeker... Rubik and a roaming Pudge, maybe? I'm looking at their team and now I'm just at a loss. I assume the Bloodseeker was jungle, but they didn't have a carry.
Yeah, no, the Bloodseeker was safe lane.
Okay, so safe lane Bloodseeker. You could tell the typical jungler has no clue what happened for the first 10 minutes outside of his direct vicinity.
Well, I mean, Bloodseeker's like a good carry, honestly. It's just this person's just stupid as shit.
Yeah, the game did not go in their favor. And so we, of course, had a safe lane Lone Druid, a safe lane support Morphling, and jungle Enigma. We had a mid Ember Spirit and an offlane Slardar, and those are the teams. 5 people on each of them, big surprise, and it was fun. The enemy team, obviously their comp made a lot less sense. Our comp still was not totally common, given that we had a Morphling support, and our Slardar offlane did not play like a utility Slardar that one would assume when you're playing with 3 other cores, but he instead played like a carry Slardar where he went Treads, HOD, Blink, BKB, Lincolns. But overall, of course, the game went okay. I think as far as I'm concerned, I had a pretty uncontested jungle. Unfortunately, I wasted my first black hole. We were trying to get aggressive on the Timbersaw, but it just, like, we got real close to killing him, but it was just not in the cards.
I'm a lot of instances of physical damage, and he's a lot of not taking any physical damage, so that just didn't work.
Yeah, so that was unfortunate. But after that first black hole that didn't go great, all the other black holes went pretty well. They had a bunch of melee heroes and a Storm Spirit who has to be in the thick of things. So there were a lot of situations where I could get like 3 or 4 people in them. Unfortunately, they had a lot of things to break my black holes, but they didn't come in handy too much. The Pudge hook was what I was mainly worried about, but he didn't hook me out of a black hole ever. And Rubik stole black hole once, just narrowly, and then what's it called? The Storm Spirit stopped one with an Orchid once, but he stopped that when I had already channeled for like almost the entirety of the thing. So
yeah,
not the easiest black hole game, but it was not bad at all.
Well, I mean, the key to it was that you were using it like after these fights had basically started. I mean, there was one time where you used it like while they were just kind of retreating, and it was like there were only 3 people up there, and then you did get it stolen, but that was like, you know, after almost a full duration channel, and then we just killed Rubik immediately, and it didn't matter. But like, yeah, the main thing is that you were like counter initiating with it. It was like the Ember would catch someone out with chains, or I would find someone, my bear would hit them a couple times and they'd chase me, or like we never instigated a thing with like, you know, the first thing that they noticed in a fight wasn't, oh, there's a black hole. There's a black hole going on right now. It was always like some shit would happen, and then you would catch them after they're focusing on like trying to kill me or something with the black hole.
Yeah, I mean, that's how I always kind of like these kind of heroes, like Tidehunter and Enigma, that, like, obviously they have the potential to start fights, but yeah, Magnus also. Generally, I find like you want to start fights if they're pushing into you, but when it comes to these like skirmishy fights that are like in the middle of nowhere in somebody's jungle, especially against a team like this, they just had enough things to break it that like if I didn't catch out any one of four of them, then it would either get stolen or get stopped, and I obviously don't want that to happen. So I went in for the counter initiation type, and I think in general that's my preference. I would say, just because it allows you to be keeping mental math of being like, okay, they already used blood right, they've already used the orchid, they've already done X, Y, and Z, and then you can kind of come in right when you want to. But the thing is, just like Enigma, you really need to have that decisive moment where you're like, all right, I'm going in now. And sometimes it's not going to work out, but other times it is, and obviously you want it to be the good ones and not the bad ones.
Yeah, I feel like there's something to be said about the way that people think about initiation, specifically kind of at the lower level, where you see these enigmas just immediately get blink, or you think, oh, Tide Hunter, like you blink in and you ravage, or Magnus, oh well, Magnus is an initiator, you go in and you RP. But like in actuality, like the best kind of initiation is that kind of like fire and forget that just gets the other team off balance, that then enables a better initiation, like a reinitiation later, like a Slardar blink in, crush, 4-staff back, then like, you take someone down to like half health, and then the enemy team has to decide whether or not to like move forward and defend them, or like get off balance and try to retreat, and then you catch a straggler or something, or like a lion blink hex, and then you just try to blow someone up real quick, and then do like the big initiation when they try to counter initiate your like small initiation. Like you don't want to just like blow your fucking load on an initial like, oh, we ravaged them, now let's try to figure out what their positioning is and how to get them. Like that's just more often than not, like someone's going to be positioned in a way that you didn't think, and it's going to actually be a bad initiation. Like the best thing to do is you want to like poke and prod them, get them off balance, do like a small initial initiation, and then like go in for the big thing after you have like a good sense of how the fight looks. The only hero I would say is actually just like a straight up big deal initiator is like Clockwork. Like Clockwork definitely straight up initiator, but like Tide and Magnus and Enigma, like more often than not, at least unless you're like high ground pushing and you see the perfect situation, like for the most part those are counter initiators, not necessarily like straight up like 0 to 60 initiators.
Yeah, I mean, I think really the biggest thing, whether it's initiating or counter initiation, is just the amount of information you have. And naturally, a counter initiation, you have more information in most cases than you have when you're trying to go uphill or into a place you don't have vision, etc., to initiate, right? So the initiating from from high ground coming to low ground and initiating when they're pushing into you, that's just because you have high ground advantage, you have vision. Whereas the alternative is if you're pushing and you have like a Lone Druid bear, of course, giving you vision uphill, that is going to help you out and provide the vision that you need to initiate or counter initiate. So it's really just an information thing, and you're gonna have more information if people are already fighting. So yeah, in my build, I went, of course, Soul Ring, Mana Boots, Mechanism. Or actually, I went Mech with Brown Boots, and then I built Mana Boots. Then I went Blink, Guardian Greaves, and then I built Aghanims, and then I would have built BKB last, but I built a Refresher just on impulse because we're pushing base, and I like Refresher on my score screen. I was kind of happy with it, honestly. I part of me was kind of flip-flopping on the Aghanims, thinking like, oh, I should just build BKB first, but I really liked having Aghanims against Timbersaw, Pudge, and I was thinking the game was going to go later, and they have, I was saying this to Proud and the VOD, but it just, nowadays, I'm sure most people have noticed this, but any game that goes late, like, people just have a ton of health. Like, I don't know if I'm just misremembering, but like Dota used to be like some cores just did not build HP. Like it would not be uncommon for a core to have like 1700 HP at level 25 or something, or at 50 minutes. But nowadays it's just everybody just like stat items are really common and really strong. People have plus stat talents. People like strength gives more health than it used to a long time ago. So I feel like the Aghanims having that like extra 5.25% damage per second, it really just adds up. Unfortunately, they had blade mails, which made it add up on me. But I was pretty content building the Aghanims. I think it's quite strong.
Yeah, it's definitely like a cool item. I love that like someone had blade mail when you black holed and your health was just melting, and I was like, what is killing you? Is this towers? It's like, no, black hole actually is just the strongest damage spell in the game.
Yep. But yeah, so I think that's really enough for Enigma, right? Like it was.
Yeah.
Enigma is just a make it or break it. Like either you get the black holes or you don't. And even like my jungling itself, I guess I should talk about this briefly. It didn't go horribly because I wasn't contested, but like the fact that I don't jungle was very evident, I think. Like I had a couple
Yeah.
times where I would clear the entire jungle and then like have time left over where I was just kind of putzing around doing a whole bunch of nothing. And like
Yeah.
you were saying, I didn't take advantage of the offlane jungle even though they weren't jungling our offlane jungle. So it was a little rocky, but it went fine, all things considered. I still had like 60 CS at 10 minutes, and I still had decent timings on all my stuff, so I wasn't too pressed about it. But it definitely, jungling is an art form that I am not quite a master of.
Yeah, I think my favorite jungle rotation for the most part right now is like you do the hard camp, pull it back, do the hard camp, then do the medium camp to the west of it. So like you do the hard camp twice, and then go west, do that camp, and then go east, do that medium camp, and then finish going east, and then go like and keep going east to your offlane hard camp. At least from dire perspective. So like go hard camp, closer to the safe lane tower, back closer to mid, and then take the short path off to the off lane like hard camp. Assuming the off laner isn't using their jungle. If they are, then stay in the safe lane. Stay in your fucking lane. But
Yeah, that makes sense.
ideally, if you have a jungler, you don't want your off lane to have to jungle as well. That's another key to picking off laners or to picking a junglers. You need to make sure that your off lane isn't gonna like be totally starved for like have a really shitty lane too. But
Yeah.
yeah, that's in general a good path. Like if you can not go into the safe laner's hard camp. That's ideal.
Yeah, we kind of, as the game progressed, especially in that mid game, we had the classic jungler issue of we had four cores that all were farming, and
Yeah.
there's just, there's only so much farm on the map. And since Slardar wasn't playing that utility, he was like seriously farming and he was dominating creeps and all this.
Yeah,
So
the
we
dominating
just
creeps.
kind of,
That's so rough. Like you just take a fucking hard creep off the map and it doesn't give anyone any gold. Ugh.
yeah. So that was rough, but altogether, I think it worked out fine. I really do like Enigma. It just sucks when like the enemy team's like, oh, they have Enigma. Let's pick Silencer or Ricky or Bounty Hunter or
Yeah,
Skyrath. Oh, yeah, but it went fine.
he has some specific counters.
But yeah, so let's talk about Lone Druid then.
Yeah, so I had actually like a really bad lane. I got very little CS because we kept trying to like the Morphling kept trying to harass the Timbersaw out of lane, and I was like helping, and as a result, just the creeps were right clicking me the whole time. Like Timbersaw was never fighting back, so it's not like the creeps were both just like hitting each other and not hitting, or rather, not like the creeps were just both hitting heroes and not hitting each other. Our creeps were fucking hitting their creeps the whole fucking time, and their creeps were just like hitting us while Timber is just like, I give no shits about your Morphling's 40 damage right clicks. So that was just like pretty bad, and then eventually I just got Morphling to leave. I didn't get my level 5 until Timbersaw was also 5. So he had like, I think he almost probably won like fucking 3 points in his armor or something. Like it was absurd.
I mean, I would assume so.
Yeah, he actually maxed it at 7. Yeah, so he had 3 points in his armor at level 5, so I didn't even have my entangle, so I just couldn't do shit. So my lane was just like 4 ranged creeps, all like making it impossible for me to last hit and shit. And it was just like brutal. And then we tried to gank him and we both died. So I had like a really kind of weak early game, but I still got my Midas anyways. I got Midas finished out about 9 minutes, which is like super bad. If I'm mid, I normally get Midas plus boots plus Orb of Venom at 9 minutes. So I was about like, from being in a contested 1v1 mid lane, even then I was still down like almost 700 gold, which is pretty brutal. So I made some modification to deal with that. Normally I like going, like my standard kind of build for this is I go Helm of the Dom, or like Phase Boots, Bladestone, Raindrop, Helm of the Dominator, and the main deal with Helm of the Dominator is it gives me and my bear both health regen, so I almost never have to resummon my bear. It gives me the extra unit, which I can normally get like a wolf to give me incredible like extra damage. Like normally it'll give me plus, I don't know, somewhere between 30 and 40 damage. And if you think of all the shit the Dominator does for you, the 6 stats, 20 attack speed for you, 10 for your bear, and like the HP regen, plus also add like 40 damage onto that, that's absurd fucking value. And then also add in, if you go to bear form and you use your battle cry, your D in true form, the bonus damage and armor that it gives to you also goes to all other controlled units. So when that first became the case, people were like, oh yeah, you can buff Necro, and then they kind of forgot about it because who the fuck is going to build Necro on Lone Druid? But you can also use it to buff your dominated creep, and units that do normal damage do more damage proportionally to towers than heroes do. So it's not just like, oh, I have like a hero that hits for an extra 120 damage right now. It's more like I have a hero that hits for like 170 or something, like now hitting the tower. Not exactly that number, but something kind of similar, more than 120, or whatever the wolf gets its damage buff too. So like I'll have Dominator plus me plus Deso and an AC, and this wolf that's getting extra 10 attack speed and an extra 120 damage, and then my bear getting the damage and me getting the damage. And it's like I press D and it's 360 damage, like of right click now being applied to these fucking towers, and it's like wild fucking good. Plus it's 6 stats to all, which is way better than the 3 that Aquila gives you. So it fills out your stats super well, gives you like a nice decent mana pool, and the health regen is just nice because you don't have to rely on anything else. Like you don't have big health issues with safe lane druid, but mid you end up tanking a bit more. So it's more okay to skip it, which I ended up doing just because I needed to. This timber saw, like from the laning phase, I identified, okay, I am never going to kill this timber saw in my current state. Like whether I have an Aquila or not, my right clicks are still not going to do shit to timber. So like I immediately needed to go to my transformative item to like make my damage high enough to outpace Timber's armor and regen. And so that there's like 2 paths for ways you can go with Druid. You can either go magic damage or physical. And the magic damage build is not like an Ember Spirit magic damage build, but like whether your kind of like heavy damage is going to come from Maelstrom procs and MKB and that sort of thing, or if you're mostly going to go into a minus arm with like Desolator and AC. And we have a Slardar, and Slardar's a great counter to Timbersaw, and I said, okay, well, if we're going to be reducing his armor anyways, magic damage doesn't scale too well with that, so my favorite is the Deso anyways, so I'm just going to get that Deso. Also, we're against a Pudge. Pudge doesn't take a lot of magic damage. Pudge takes a ton of physical. They also have a Rubik, like plenty of reasons this game to go for minus armor, so I went with the Deso. And then, of course, once I finish the Deso, because like you keep a Blightstone on your bear almost all the time. It's 10 damage bonus or 12 damage bonus or something like that, on average, more or less, between you and your units and your team. So just keep it on your bear, and it's not going to take up a slot on your hero. And so I finished my Deso, then I bought another Blightstone, put it back on my bear. So just through right clicks alone, my bear is reducing by 2 armor, I'm reducing by 7. Slardar has got like 10, 15, 20 or something. So like we can just take someone straight up to 0 armor between like me, my bear, and a Slardar super easily. So I think that was definitely the build to go. And then after that is when I got my Dragonlance, because like if I had the Dragonlance, I still would do like 2 fucking damage total to all these guys. Like it wouldn't change anything. And that's like 2,000 gold away from my Deso. But if I just like rush the Deso straight up, my Rabid gives me enough attack speed to like get my right clicks out. I have plus 200 range. The 140 isn't worth not having a Deso. So I just rushed the Deso out, and then I finished my Power Treads, and then Dragonlance just for the extra range. And I had my Midas going kind of the whole time, fueling my gold. I got to level 15 pretty, like, even though I want to say level 8 at like 11 minutes, and normally I would be level 10 or 11 at 11 minutes, so that Midas really helped catch up for the fact that I had, a Morphling sucking my experience the whole time, not really contributing. And I was able to just kind of like jungle my way back into relevancy. And I ended the game with like 780 GPM despite like the really, really, really rough start. And yeah, I could just keep the Midas the whole time. They had a Glimmer Cape, so I bought Dust and put it on my bear because my bear has open slots all the time. He has like 1 open slot for everything, because I normally don't buy Stout Shield on him, so he'll have like a Quelling, an Orb of Venom, a Blightstone, a Midas, Phase Boots, and Dust all available all the time when I'm at like 800 GPM at fucking like 38 minutes. Like I can still have an Orb of Venom and a Quelling Blade and a fucking Blightstone, which is super cool. And then after that, I wasn't really sure what I wanted to go. Normally I would go AC at this point. It's really great. Helps me and my bear, helps my bear get more right clicks out for more entangles. Minus armor, synergizes with everything, gives me a ton of armor. Druid actually has a pretty big armor problem because he builds very few agi items, and AC solves that right up. But Slardar said he was going to get one, so it's like, all right, whatever. And we were against this Storm Spirit, and then also a Pudge who's, a Pudge who is dismembering people, and then a Rubik who may be blinking and trying to steal Black Coal. So I just got Orchid. So I basically just went into every fight, put my my bear, my hero on Bloodseeker, and I would silence like Timbersaw or Storm Spirit where I killed someone else, and then our team would like catch Storm Spirit while he was just chilling at the end of the Orchid. Then I'd switch to them, and it was just like really fucking efficient and easy and simple. The best thing about the Druid is that your right click is this perfect blank slate. You already have attack speed built in. You already have damage built in. You can go whichever direction you want with it. And if you want to go the utility direction, you can just like, hey, get Deso and then an Orchid. And then I went from there into Monkey King Bar. The big issue with having like absurd amounts of attack range is the map is so hilly. Like a lot of the times I'm just like attacking uphill. Just because the fight is happening somewhere else from where I am, but I can still right click to it. So I just get the MKB, so I don't have to deal with that. The mini stuns, help Storm Spirit not be able to jump away. Maybe I catch him in the full cast animation. Stops Pudge doing his Dismember and that sort of thing. It's more magic damage that goes through Timbersaw's armor. Not that his armor is too big a problem, but if I don't have a Slardar amp damage going on, I can utilize that. And I just took it from there straight into the Bloodthorn because, hey, why the fuck not? And then we won the game.
Yeah, I mean, it definitely worked out. I think our whole team kind of hit similar item timings, right? So we had you come out and with your core first couple items, and we had Slaughter come out with like Blink HOD, and Veil Ember Spirit was already up and running, and I of course had Blink and Mech / Greaves, depending on when we are going to consider this moment, and we just kind of snowballed at a certain point. Like we took 2 or 3 fights in a row. And we took our small advantage we had from the laning phase because mid went in our favor and the off lane kind of traded a bit, and so we just kind of snowballed, and it was really it was very easy to snowball given the items we had and the heroes we had relative to their heroes. So it really just all worked out in.
I'm looking at the graph here, and we got Travels, your Blink, Slardar's Blink, and my Deso all within 2 minutes of each other. So it's just immediately we got that. We just fucking went. And then I got my Dragonlance the exact same time you got your Greaves.
Yeah, so exactly. It's just one of these perfect storms essentially of items coming together at the right time. And the enemy team, their item timings just were not synergizing perfectly well. And Timbers also lost a lot of Bloodstone charges after a couple bad fights, and that didn't you buy Bloodstone to propel yourself forward, not to lose your charges immediately. So that was the game, really. I think it was a lot of fun. Enigma, can't go wrong. I'm gonna hop into the plugs. Before I hop into the plugs, I'll bring up one special plug. So the Patreon, we're gonna be doing a special thing in February. I say we, mostly me, or some combination of the 4 of us. And we do, of course, our replay reviews every month for anybody. I believe it's $20 or more. But for February, we're going to be doing Patreon replay reviews for anybody donating $5 or more on Patreon. And so, you could just give us $5 and you'll get a Patreon review. Just send us in a replay ID, of course, in I think it's 10 days they time out.
Yes, it's about 10 days, I think.
And it'll be a good time. I know replay reviews are a lot of fun. I'll be more than happy to do any and all of them. So look forward to that. And if you're not already a Patreon sponsor, maybe that's a little incentive. Get a taste of what a replay review is like. They're always a nice, fun little reward, very personalized. So on that note, let's hop into the other plugs. We stream our games on twitch.tv/.ptv. We, of course, we talked about earlier, we're streaming the new .p team practice, .p stream team streams on Sunday afternoons at 5 Eastern. Like I said, this is Super Bowl Sunday for any of you non-American fans. It's something of a holiday, and so me and Grady will be out, but there will be some form of stream. I'm fairly confident I can say that between the other members of the team. So something will be up. It'll be fun. Other than that, we have our in-houses on Wednesday nights at 9 Eastern. Those are run primarily through Discord, discord.gg/.p. If you want to get in on the action, they're a good time. We've had great attendance the last few weeks. They've been opening up a 3rd set of lobbies too. It's been quite busy. Thank you for running that, Growdy, so that we don't have to. We have all our videos on YouTube, including the team practice we were talking about, and our Theorycrafting Thursday games, of course, on youtube.com/.ptv1. That is a numerical 1. We have Twitter. I'm at Ursinity, Proud is at Proud Dota. Our show is at .p_show. You can email us questions for the Tuesday show, reviews, whatever, on defenseofthepatients@gmail.com. You can also give us iTunes reviews. That is a great help to us. We've been getting a lot of those recently, and they help us quite a bit. So that is one way you can support us. And we also have a subreddit r/defenseofthepatients and a website, defenseofthepatients.com, with an Amazon banner if you want to click through that to buy whatever Amazon stuff. So all that being said, that is Theory Crafting Thursday for this week. It was a lot of fun.
And remember, bash the fash.